permaculture convergence in 1994 up on Sandy Bar Ranch with a man named Tom Ward at the time, and they are now Hazel. And that conversation at Sandy Bar 94, I was like, we just bought this property in West Sonoma County, and it's kind of a cool place, and I don't really know what permaculture is. I read this manual on the drive up from Santa Cruz, but maybe you two could come and teach one of these things called permaculture design course. So that first course was in 1995 with Penny and Hazel, and it's all history from there on out. And I know I see a bunch of folks in here who were in those PDCs in the 90s and 2000s. How many OEC PDC grads we even have in the room? Like a bunch, y'all, right? And, you know, I was just reflecting on with Penny, especially based on COVID, with the Bullock brothers are not doing PDCs, Lost Valley's not doing them, Crimpy with Jerome Ostenkowski's not doing them, Southwest. So OEC is the longest running permaculture design course center, continuously operating for now our 30th year of offering PDCs. And it's just been the first years of really co-doing 40 PDCs with Penny, and then transitioning, and I don't think Kendall Dunnigan is with us tonight. You in the room, Kendall? But I want to acknowledge Kendall Dunnigan, who's co-director. Oh, there you go. I should put, no. I'll put my glass on. Kendall and Daniel Sonnenberg and our permaculture team, and Kendall's really been holding it down and transitioning through COVID and the hybrid course and online and part online and in person and all things adaptive management. So, we're going to get more into this when we get to the panel, but just reflecting a lot on history and just wanted to re-acknowledge, because we spoke this earlier in the first half of the day, but for all of you new folks, just, you know, really dropping into the depth of the idea of regenerative in the past, present, future, and acknowledging the legacy and they are still here relationship of the Southern Pomo Coast Miwok peoples who are currently the Federated Indians of Great Rancheria. And there's been a lot of conversation about the settler colonist generation here and the Italians, and some of those things, but just acknowledging the depth of integrity intergenerationally and currently that we are all striving to be good guests in their homeland with them at this time, and how to really show up. And I really believe that the work of this book and what Erik's bringing forward to us is almost a guidebook for how to be a good guest in a place, in a regenerative, reciprocal, reverential relations of trying to right, R-I-T-E, finding right relations. And so I'm going to let Erik talk about that more and move it on from here, I think, and then we'll get into the panel.
Cool. Yeah.
All right.
Penny.
No.
Perfect. Hey,
You're up.
We're bouncing around up here. All right. So thank you again for coming here, and I just want to do another applause for just being here tonight and having you all here. So thank you so much. So I'm Chloe, and I'm the Eco Marketing Consultant of Synergetic Press, and I'm excited that I was able to help put on this event and to work closely with Erik in marketing his book. It's been quite a project, and I'm just really grateful to be here with you all tonight. I came in from Asheville, North Carolina yesterday, so I'm still on that time zone, but again, holding it, and so yeah, I just wanted to talk about Synergetic Press and who we are. You may have came to us, and if you haven't, we are the booth on the left, and Doug is here as well. He's the executive director, and I got involved with Synergetic Press, or learned of them 10 years ago. I stumbled across their ranch in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and was blown away by their constellation of organizations that they're a part of, mainly the well-known Biosphere 2 project that happened in the 90s, and I knew that organization, or that group of organizations, I would be involved with for a long time. And so 10 years later, I was hired on, and we care about making an impact through honest and thought-provoking storytelling, and that's mainly through nonfiction, and we carry the titles of Ego and Regeneration, as you can tell, but also consciousness, psychedelics, and social justice, among others. So yes, I think that's all I had to say for the moment. So now we're going to have Penny come up here and talk about Erik a little bit. And if you don't know, she was the foreword of the book. So thank you so much.
So, I mean, one of the things that's really, it's so great to be back here. It's been a long time, and just to see the plants and how the garden's grown up, and how the people have grown up, and how OAC has just been staying strong, and look at this place. I mean, who knew back in those days? Yeah, and everything just looks so together. Like I went and snuck around, looked at the kitchen and my room where I'm staying. It's like super classy. So, anyway, so I knew Erik when he was 19 years old. That's when we first met, in 1999. He came here to a course, a permaculture design course at 19, and now your son, Phoenix, is almost your age. He's 15 now, but in a few more years.
Don't age him too fast.
He'll be-
He's 15.
Yeah, he'll be like, it's like this. Talk about regenerative, right? Like intergenerational, and just seeing the beauty of how Erik's kids have grown up. But, you know, Erik, when I saw him, he was like a bright light. And even back then, I was a lot younger than I am now, but even then, I'm like looking at the younger people going, who are the shining stars? And Erik just flashed his shining brightness to me, and I had a design build business called Sustainable Living Designs, and I was really wanting to work with people who really wanted to work with the land, like it wasn't drudgery, it was, and here these guys, he had a group called Planting Earth Activation, called the P group, and they were going around sheet mulching people's gardens and putting in food gardens for free with him and his friends, and I'm like, do you want to get paid to do this? and I said to him, look, I'll talk to you, and you organize your friends. And then he came on, and a lot of this work was hard work, and I think I had him shoveling, ditch digging and gravel in about 100-degree heat one time. It's like, I want to see what these white boys are made out of.
Day one.
I was a tough auntie. But you know what? Erik showed up. I mean, I definitely did, like, it was like trial by fire, because I was a little bit like, I want to see what these guys are made out of. And I found out that Erik has a heart so strong and a commitment was so full of integrity. And I would turn to him and say, can you do this? And he'd be like, yes. And then pretty much everything that I suggested he do, he would go do. And that's, even my kids didn't do that. So, you know, later on, this is in the foreword a little bit, but we were mentored by a Lakota grandfather named Uncle Gilbert Walking Bull. And he taught us about the 7 sacred attributes that the clan mothers would look for in young boys. And Erik had every one of them. And that's why I put that in the forward, because I was aware of that, and I was seeing it on him. And he has stood on our shoulders, I think, in many ways, and has just launched to such great success in his landscape permaculture artisans, in the Permaculture Skills Center, that's amazing. And then the books that he's authored, the children's stories he's authored, the ecological landscaping programs he's done. I mean, he's just unbelievable in terms of what he has accomplished. And you're not even halfway through, you know. I get tired sometimes thinking about it. Anyway, I'm just so proud of Erik and what he has done, and the potential and just the joy and heart and integrity and soul that he has shown up with. So without further ado, we say that a lot, don't we? Erik.
Wow, okay. Well, that was heart palpitating, tear wrenching. I'm sitting, it is emotional actually, being here with you all. So many old friends and mentors and close friends and family. This book, The Regenerative Landscaper, honestly, this thing wouldn't even be in existence without like a quarter of the people in this room. And I mean that literally, because of the lessons that I've learned, the experiences that I've had, the contributions that people have made, the sacrifices that my family made for me to spend 3 years working on this book. It's a lot to support a person when they're working on a project like this. I think part of why it's emotional is because I've spent my whole adult life doing this, but none of this is about me. This is about us. And it's also about the us that's not here. The people, everyone else who's part of this movement, who's doing this work, the kids, the children that are coming up, the folks who can't even afford to come to an event like this, or can't even afford to buy this book, or don't have access to land, don't have access to water. This isn't just a book about landscaping, and we're not just here to talk about that. This is a moment where we get to celebrate how far a movement to grow peace on earth in the soil has come. It's also a moment to reflect on what we've done that's worked and what hasn't worked. It's a moment in time to understand how much harm and damage humanity's caused of our waterways, of our communities, of our children. And that within that acknowledgement is this opportunity that we get every single day. We get to wake up and get to take a breath and have the sun shine down on us and drink water and eat food and then make choices. Earlier today, I gave a talk, and one of the principles that I've been sitting with a lot lately, probably the two most profound principles of regeneration that have been hitting me strong is reciprocity, because it's one of our most ancient and across all cultures way of relating with the world through reciprocity. And we're not going to unpack that right now. And the second one is minimizing harm. And when we're making choices out there in the world, we get to choose harm or not harm when we're building a landscape, a garden, a farm. So for me, it's a trip to be up here in front of you all. It's crazy that this book was written and done, and I can hardly take ownership over it because it's a collective work. Honestly, it's a collective work. There's case studies in here from all over the world. There are voices, women's voices, people of color voices in this book, wisdom from various cultures that you'll find in here. Redbird did illustrations for the book that you'll find in every chapter. Adam Wolpert, who's not here, but he's one of the co-founders of the Sewing Circle and a world-renowned artist. This is his painting. Oh. Summer Oak. This is his painting. And those are his paintings in the back there as well. What a gift. What a gift. So I feel like I've been gifted by the community in profound ways that words could hardly even sum up. And that's why I'm really excited to get to the panel, because we need to hear from Penny and Redbird and Brock, and we need to hear from you all. That's why we need to celebrate tonight, celebrate being together, because this is like a rare moment here. For those, there's really amazing people here in this room right now with rich, deep levels of experience and wisdom and big open hearts. So I love that we get to be here together. I really want to appreciate Doug, we have from Synergetic Press. You know, I don't know when that was, Doug. We were at the Heirloom Expo a number of years ago, and I met Doug. I had written some children's books. You can find one of them over there on Evelina Molina's table in Hidden Forest Nursery over there. And Doug came up to my table. I was selling these children's books, and we got to chatting, and you know, we hit it off. And I kind of planted this little seed, like I might want to do like a book, like a bigger book, Regenerative, you know. And what's that?
The big book.
The big book. I want to do the big book. And Doug was an agent at the time, and so I always dreamed of writing this book. And years later, Doug gets in touch with me out of the blue and says, "Hey, do you actually want to do the big book? Because I'm now working with Synergetic Press, and we're interested in buying your manuscript." And I was like, "What? Wait, where's this?" Yeah, I've actually been working on this book. So this book is like 10 years in conception, 3.5 years in the making, and here we are at the launch party. It's ridiculous, honestly. But the question is, why write this book? There's so many incredible books out there, permaculture manuals. I mean, there's, you know, Grow Dirt and gosh, there's all of Toby Hemingway's work. This book is dedicated to Toby Hemingway. So gratitude, you know, to one of our ancestors. Toby would have been proud of this book. And he would have been an ally in this process, and he is an ally. So why write it? There's so much incredible work out there right now. And the reason why I wrote this was because most of the books on permaculture and ecological design or regenerative design, they're so inspiring, filled with science and theory and inspiration, but not that many of them are taking that practical approach of like, how do I actually get this shit done? Like, how do I coordinate a project? How do I actually go from the concept to the design, to the development, to working with people, to managing a budget, managing a schedule, managing stakeholders? What are all those invisible social structures that are involved in doing that while keeping a set of values, while being core to regeneration, to healing the earth, to healing community? And so I felt like I wanted my contribution to the movement to be something that would be very, very practical, very how-to, very much about following a project timeline, a sequence to get it done. Because you all know, I know, and a lot of you know how many of these projects suck and fail and get bulldozed and get torn up and get cut down. It happens a lot. It's happened to many of my projects over the years. We can't always control that because of land ownership and capitalism and fuck that. Anyways, so that's why I wrote the book. And I'm not going to take too much more time here. I did want to just read a couple passages. And I want to thank everybody who contributed to this book. Pandora Thomas of Earthseed Farm contributed to this book because she left apples and pears. Minnie Jane from Flow Partnership, she wrote a case study on some incredible water harvesting structures in India. Darren Springer, an incredible mycologist out of London, wrote a mushroom how-to in here. Dr. Mia Maltz from UC Irvine, she published insane mycology science in this book on fire remediation, bioremediation using mushrooms. We got to publish her works in here, along with others. Paul and Elizabeth Kaiser, which we did a case study for, and their amazing, groundbreaking farm, Singing Frogs Farm. Emily Mallard, did she make it here? Emily Mallard, she was a designer, landscape designer I've worked with for years and years and years. She wrote a section of the book, or contributed to a section about how to be a professional, how to work with clients and approach the design process that way. Who am I missing? Kendall. Kendall, you in here? Kendall shared her entire virtual site assessment process with us, and we published it in this book. It's incredible, and it's groundbreaking, and it's all here. So like I said, this isn't me. This is a collective, and I can't have more gratitude for that. I missed other people, but I've got to move on. So let me read a couple quick passages, and we're going to get to the panel. Okay, I'm going to read a little bit from the introduction and a little bit from the end. That seems fitting to me. At the root of all regenerative practices is the living wisdom of indigenous people. Honoring the native people and practices of your area is an inextricable part of understanding the landscape. That being said, there's a common bond we all share that traces each of us back to our early ancestors. This bond represents the relationship between people and land. It is a gift, but it comes with a great responsibility. For thousands of years, humans across the globe maintained a balanced partnership with their habitats. Much of that knowledge has been lost to colonization, but enough of the old ways remain to seed a new reciprocal relationship with landscape. Humans are intelligent, but the process of colonization might cost us everything if we don't urgently change our cultural land use practices. The ingenuity of our near ancestors and their relationships to the environment has, for better or worse, spawned human civilization as we know it. Selective plant breeding, domestication of animals, changing the physical scapes of landscapes, these abilities, now inherent in all human societies, have enabled people to transform land into food-growing systems, agriculture. The same knowledge that founded civilization has been used to disrupt and destroy living systems through industrial agriculture on a planet-wide scale. We are at a crossroads. How we treat our landscapes and each other defines the fate of all future generations. We still have a choice. We can use this power either to destroy or to renew. Do we continue to take the destructive path, accelerating mass species extinction, poverty, and climate disasters? Or do we take the path of regeneration, where we dust off the ancestral ways and do the real work of repairing our ecosystems? No matter our political ideology, culture, or religion, we are all united by a few basic elements, the forces that shape our planet. The forces of the sun, life-giving water, and the magic of the chlorophyll molecule. These systems undeniably connect every human and everything in the web of life. By picking up this book, you are choosing renewal. Inside, you will find comprehensive, easy-to-follow methods for transforming a patch of earth into a life-sustaining regenerative landscape. You'll discover answers to your questions, but you'll also discover how to ask the right questions, how to listen to the earth in all its complexity and splendor. The regenerative path unfolds in front of you. The tools you need are here in your hands. Join me on this journey as we repair the land together. And with that, let's bring up the panel. Thank you.
Is anybody else getting warm? Shall we open windows?
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta get a fourth chair.
You can sit on my.
Grab one of those. Yeah. Push. That. There we go. Yeah. You press it to turn on. Okay, but wait, hold on. Master selfie moment with everyone. Here we go. Turn around. Turn around. Right here, Redbird. Here we go, everybody. Say regeneration! Regeneration! Yeah, awesome. Thanks. right?
All righty. Well, been thinking about wanting the panel that, and I spoke to both Redbird and Penny a little bit before, thinking of just wanting to start giving them each an opportunity to do a little bit of an introduction as they wish to, themselves in the moment right now. And then I think in the context, starting off with here's this amazing book and this work, and as Erik said, it's a very detailed, practical book as far as the details part, but in the realm of permaculture, the sort of patterns to details. Wanted each of them to speak a little bit about their own personal journey, if you will, your own pattern of the connection of the regenerative journey of coming to this moment with themselves, and then the second half, want to make space, really talk about for each of them, like where it's juicy and forward, progressively moving and things. But I kind of wanted to hear, or you all to hear a little bit of how they wish to narrate some of their own story and the nexus, this intersectional moment of their personal journey and the connectivity of this time we're at, this place and time we're at. So I was thinking if you wanted to go first, Redbird, that would be wonderful. Just kind of bounce off since we just got Penny a bit ago, and that'll kind of mix up the voices. So thanks for being here with us, Redbird. Oh, you're welcome. Hi. Did I already get that beforehand? He was busy. There was an event the other day. I was trying.
Can you all hear me? Okay.
Breathe closer, a little closer.
Is that better?
Stick it in your mouth.
For me, my personal permaculture journey started with Penny many years ago. But for me, there was an underlying theme throughout my learning of permaculture, and it's a continuing thread that continues to this day, and that's being a native person in the permaculture world. That's been my struggle, all this time. And at the beginning, I didn't know that was my struggle. I was just trying to fit into the permaculture world, trying to learn, it's all really good teachings and stuff. It was really good. The things that Penny was saying was all just, we all know what it is, as permaculture people, we all know what it is. But for some reason, it wasn't, something was wrong, for me. It was good and it was fulfilling and everything, but it's just something was wrong, and I didn't know what it was for so long. I kind of had an idea of what it was, but that's what it was, Eventually, I just had to face facts, It's me being a native person trying to learn this discipline that ignores native people. And so I had to figure out, how do I make it work for me? So that's been my struggle in the permaculture world. Is trying to fit myself in and fit my people and fit my community in. And I've been able to, I've had successes and I've had failures, and for the most part, it's doing okay right now. I feel like it's doing really good. One of the things that I've looked for during all that time is to find allies. Like, who are my allies in this? And it's kind of funny because here you all are. With these three people right here, those are the people that kept me in this world, in this permaculture world. These three, especially Penny. Penny was the one that, when I first got into permaculture, and I wasn't so sure, is this for me? And I stayed because of Penny. In that world, because she supported me, and she had something, she caught it, and it's the same for So right now, I help on this land project. There's this indigenous land project here in Sonoma County, not too far from here. And it's the place where I finally ended up landing. It's the indigenous land project. So we get to do the things that we want to do. And one of the reasons why it's hard to do things in the mainstream world is there's certain things that need to be explained, and we don't want to explain it. I mean, we just want to do things because we know what's right, or it's things that's going to help us, and we don't need to tell people or give people reasons why we need to do that. An example of that would be taking care of our hair. It's getting kind of personal here, but I'm explaining it to you. This is what I don't want to do. And for a lot of Native people, we don't want to leave our hair laying around all over the place. Not because of hygiene or anything like that, because it's a spiritual or there's things there, and I don't have to explain anything now, but there's things there where it's personal to us. There's power in it. There's power in our hair, and we don't want to just like comb my hair and just throw it off to the side. So that's like one example of something that we want to explain to people, like, why are you leaving your hair all over the place? Here on our land project, or at your land project, or here at OAC, where's your hair all over? So there's things like that, within the Native community where we don't want to be explaining it all the time. Another one would be smudging, like, why you need to smudge it. So, but most people know what that is now. It's kind of a worldwide thing, and everybody does it in their own way, but we do it in our certain way. Each tribe has their ways of doing it. But that's something that we wouldn't want to have to explain to everybody too, or to ask permission, or we could just do it whenever we wanted to, or whenever we felt like we needed it to get done. Like in the land project where we have now, we're smudging each other all the time. The place, if you come to that place, you just smell it everywhere. You smudge in the morning, you smudge in the afternoon, or if we don't feel good, or somebody's not doing good, or our plants aren't doing good, something will smudge it. And so it just happens all the time, and we don't have to explain it to anybody. So that's what we want. That's the thing that we were. It's the thing I was looking for, is to find a place like that where I could just do that whenever I'm on. I'm not just going to be talking about us, I'm getting to Erik. And so we have this little piece of land, and it's kind of part of the Land Act. I don't know if people have heard about that. There's this thing called Land Act, and that's returning Native people, or land reunion of Native people. And there's this place that I want to say its name, but we currently have a new name for it. So I don't want to call it the old name anymore. There's this place not too far from here, and it's called Putekle Chawi. That's its original name, so that's something I just found out 2 days ago. That was its original name, so I don't want to call it its old name anymore, because that's its real name now. And it means place of the elderberry. I really like that. So we grow elderberry there. If anybody wants elderberries, come get some, we have a lot. So anyway, I have these allies here. We have the here that help us on that land. These four right here, three right here, there's four. There's a fourth one over there. No longer with us. And so we have Erik here. He's been coming to help us on that land, and they hired me to come to be on that land, and so I arrived, and I have all these friends like from Sonoma County, like people here, you know, and I bring them over there, and everybody's suspicious. Oh, here comes another one of Redbird's friends. And so, you know, so I invited Erik to come, or I don't know if it was me, but eventually we got Erik to come there. And, you know, it doesn't take long for our crew to accept him, to accept him. They knew right away, okay, this guy's a cool guy, he's gonna be a good ally. And he is. He's done a lot for us. He's helped us in a lot of ways, just out of the goodness of his heart, and we really appreciate that. This one certain instance was when all of that realization, you know, came to the forefront, was when we were working on our irrigation, working on our water, to bring water to the land, and this is one of those things where we didn't want to have to explain it to Erik, like what water meant to us, and how it was so special, how water is so special. You know, most permaculture people, you know, can realize that, but then we also feel like there's even a deeper connection there for us, and we so we knew that Erik was close to that. Like we didn't have to tell him, and we could open up our hearts a little bit, say, okay, we need to do this special thing. You know, that didn't involve, you know, pipes or or shovels. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to go bless our well, our water well, because we want to have, you know, it's just a thing within the Native community, like, okay, this is something we have to do. We don't have to explain it to anybody that why we need to do this, or how, or what we need to do. We just say, okay, we need to bless the water. And so we all, you know, all hands on deck, everybody drops, you know, whatever we're doing, like, this is something that we need to do. And Erik happened to be there that day, and he dropped everything and brought his own lineal voodoo along with him and
Troll them, actually.
and he just jumped right in and helped us to do that, to have this special ceremony and this special time to pray to the water and to give to the well and do all the different things that we need to. And Erik was just right there, and he did this. I really can't remember what he did, but or to me, that's not. I'm not putting down what he said, what he did, but it's not mine, and it's not mine to learn whatever he did. It's not like my place to learn his practices, but they were totally welcomed and honored. You know, his practices that he brought, and it was so special, and he made it rain. He did his thing, and it rained.
I was wondering if you were going to get to that part. Like, wow. So that's the specialness that Erik brings to our land there, and to just to our relationship that we have together, and I hope he keeps continuing to do that, to help us to come over and be a part of our community there. Always.
Yep.
Oh,
have for us?
Do you have a question?
I primed you earlier on this. The
Okay.
succession of evolution principle here, you know, what's been your thoughts on how you got yourself to this moment in the context of when we're going to branch out next on what's juicy and where we're going forward.
Okay.
Give us
Well,
something.
once upon a time, back when I first started teaching permaculture, first of all, there were very few women and very few indigenous people all involved in the movement. And if we had 12 people in a course, we were like, woohoo, it's a go, 12 people. And, you know, I go all these places and speak in public, I'm a public speaker, and anybody ever heard of permaculture? And no, you know, a couple people might raise their hand. Does anybody else remember those days? Some of you, yeah? Yeah, it was a little rough. And we were very fringe, you know, we're like the outliers. And in many ways, there was kind of a stigma around it. I was at a party and a friend introduced me to kind of one of my elders. Remember the Whole Earth Review? Yeah. Do you remember Coevolution Quarterly? It was magazine. I read those when I was 20. And, you know, it was all about sustainability and stuff, and, you know, how to build greywater systems, and, you know, Peter Warshall and Cindy and Jay Dolman and all these people, Stuart Brand, and, which is also this lineage here, before AOEC. And they said, oh yeah, he's putting a permaculture garden. And he looked at me, I think it was Jay Dolman, looked at me, and he said, well, it better be beautiful. And I'm like, and why wouldn't it be beautiful? Like, I was a newbie to the movement, like, why wouldn't it be beautiful? Like, I was a garden designer prior to this, you know, getting into permaculture. But then I started seeing what a lot of people were doing, and, you know, it was a little bit like what you were saying, you know, like sticks and stuff and mulch and things, and, you know. Beauty was not one of the concerns of one of the founders, Bill Ohlsen. He was only interested in productivity. But, you know, to me, good design is beautiful. And I was committed to making these gardens beautiful. And so that, I think, is what I brought into the, you know, a little more organized, not so like, you know, yes, mulch can be beautiful. I used to paint with mulch, you know, you have the straw mulch, and then you have the wood chip mulch, and you can make little designs, and, you know, make it tidy, and make it, you know, appealing, because if you're trying to sell the idea to other people, and they come in, and it's not, you know, it just looks like a big mosh pit, it's not gonna really be appreciated. And so I don't see any reason why permaculture gardens cannot be stunningly beautiful. And even Bill would say, you know, if you've got, you know, lots of abundance of color and flowers and insects buzzing back and forth, and, you know, fruit and herbs and berries, that's a permaculture garden. You know, so I got very inspired to create beauty. So that helped, and we had a bed and breakfast, James and I, and built this permaculture garden. And at one point, I just want to speak to one of your points. This garden for me was a co-conspirator, co-creator. I considered that it was like a dialogue, talking to the garden. So I would say something or plant something, and the garden would respond with some, you know, maybe a mullein would pop up or whatever. And we had this bed and breakfast. And my field of profession was like garden design. But in my own garden, I was just like, I'm not gonna let my ego get in the way of, you know, having to cut back things. Because what you were saying about things needing to die, that's really important, you know, things gotta go to seed. So there was one time when, in the fall, when the garden was particularly looking pretty ratty, you know, just had all this dead stuff and dead stalks and things going to seed. And I had to sit on my thumbs to not go in and, you know, tidy it up, and because of my ego, because of these bed and breakfast guests coming. And so they came, and I was embarrassed. Oh, and they had just come from my neighbors, and I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but okay, she's German, right? Every single flower had her marching orders, and there's not one leaf out of place. They just come from that place to this place where it was just like crazy and wild. And I was committed. I'm not gonna let my ego go in and start cutting back and doing that. But they actually took the time, after they left, to write a letter. They actually wrote a letter. There was email just starting at the time. But they wrote a letter, and they said, we really love how your garden is being allowed to grow, rather than being made to grow. And so at that point I realized, I really underestimate people. I'm underestimating what they feel, like the energetic that they feel when they come to the land. And so then I started treating my clients that way. So, and some people, they sell insurance, or they were bankers or whatever, but you know what? So many of them know the deer that would come down every day to visit their pond, or, if they said, there's a lot of water comes off that hill. You know what I think? There's a lot of water comes off that hill. I stopped kind of underestimating people, even if I thought, they're not connected to their land. It's surprising how much people are connected to their land. So then fast forward, years go by, and a lot of people really in the permaculture movement felt comfortable about being on the fringe, not being part of mainstream culture, kind of having an us and them mentality. But in my opinion, them is us, and we are them. We got computers, we're driving our electric cars, we're feeding the beast, in many ways, right? And so I just wanted to stop the us and them judgment and really start embracing mainstream culture and honoring all people, all two-leggeds, and respecting all people. And I think that's definitely made a difference in my relationship with clients, my relationship with students, my relationship with myself. And I can just say that's how I've evolved, and I've kind of watched others evolve. And then I'm looking out here now at people who I've known many of you for decades now, and look at us, are getting grayer, older. But look at how we've grown up, and look at what kind of people we're becoming. And so I just want to celebrate that, because I really respect us. And I think we've come a long way, we've learned a lot, we've made a lot of mistakes. But I think the world, we're getting ready, world, because she needs us right now. That's awesome.
You want to drop in on some here, Eric? Reflect on what you've been doing?
Well, the latest reflection over the past 10 years probably has been that if we're really serious about how we scale up the potential of being in partnership with ecosystems from the point of view of healing degraded ecosystems through partnership and or generating abundance for human consumption through that partnership, food, medicine, and all the other factors that come with it. It can't just be a hobby. I think that's been kind of a thread for the last 10 years. It's really hard to talk about money and hard to talk about livelihood in a capitalist culture, the way that we are in. But also in permaculture, we want to use the systems that are there and make the best use of the patterns that are affecting us in daily life. And one of the patterns that affects us in daily life is that we're, for the most part, I don't think there's a single person here that's not engaging in the money system in some way. And so for the past 10 years about part of the mission, and the thing is, I kind of hate money. And I was an anti-capitalist. Miss Starhawk over here took me all over the world, shutting down the World Trade Organization and the G8 and getting arrested, and I blame you, Star. Anyways, that aside, at the same time, that money came from somewhere to get on the plane, to get over there. That was fundraising from someplace. All these incredible projects we talked about have some sort of funding stream, some sort of route to allow this resource to create the kind of land connection that we're all nourishing in this work. So I think that part of the next phase, the phase that is emerging, is that we need an entire economy based on regenerative practices.
Yes! Yes!
And you see that reflected in all the tables here, right? And all the tables, all the folks everybody's doing are engaging in this regenerative, ecological-based economy. But we also have to be careful. Earlier I talked about the least harm principle and the reciprocity principle. And that it's easy to get sucked into the money world and start to lose value, the true value of what it is we're doing, what it is we're aiming at, the kind of abundance we want to generate on Earth and in communities and in life. And so it's a tricky balance that you can easily fall off. But this is what I think is part of that next stage is to really up the ante when it comes to transforming industry, transforming trades, transforming agriculture, and creating a whole generation of livelihoods that are being nourished through building soil, sequestering carbon, healing the broken water system, creating habitat for endangered species, and growing food for folks who can't even afford to buy that food. And I think as part of that, the gift economy has to emerge alongside the financial reciprocity of a regenerative economy. It has to have a gift economy function in it. Otherwise, it's just a privileged thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And we can't lose sight of that. So, for the most part, the work I do, if it's an opportunity to work to work with folks who are generally don't have access to the land or who haven't had economic opportunities historically, generationally, I just give that my time for free. Always. When it comes to working with, and then we've got clients that are happy to pay for the work, and this is how we keep these things balanced. That we need to have these two cycles going, and so that's what I think is a continued emerging of the work that we do now.
Thanks for segueing us, in thinking, where's the, in the permaculture principle of edges or ecotones, that fecund interface, the interdigitation of these moments and intersectional spaces. And what do you think, Redbird, about the growing edge of what you find is for the future that you would like to offer? What do you lose sleep over right now that you can just so juicy that you're really psyched about in this growing edge of the emergent regenerative moment in the future?
We have to change everything. We have to change how we think, how we structure our gatherings. Like this, like us, pedestal experts up here. Whenever I get to lately, whenever I'm getting into a room full of people and I see all the people in the audience, and I say we all need to be sitting around talking. We need to be, and not just listening to us, but we need to exchange ideas together. One of the things that we're missing is how to do that. We don't know how to do that. We could sit in a circle. We could sit in a circle and talk and talk in the ways that we've learned, in this society. But that's not the right way to do it. We need to relearn it all over again. Like, how do we sit in a circle and exchange ideas in a good way that's going to be fruitful and regenerative and all of that. And there, people used to do that at one time. They used to have those, we call them councils, or a lot of people call them councils, but that doesn't encapsulate the whole idea and the whole process of what really happens in those moments. So we have to change. That's like one basic process that we need to get out of, like this process that we're in.
this.
Because I'm just thinking that now, because there's so many cool people I see in the audience that need to be offering their words too, I feel like. Maybe we are permanent to that.
You give Penny one more crack at sort of this moment, and then your segue into the Q&A session, which we're definitely holding a session to do so.
Do we have all night? Can we stay up all night?
Yeah.
Go till
And then just we'll morph to the fire is gonna get
What
going.
about rock spots?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
We're staying.
What about rock spots? About getting to this, what about rock spots? About the same question.
I'm
Yeah.
just
Moderator, Madam.
That's
He's
above
at
his
a loss
pay
for
grade.
words.
I do want to hear from Penny more, and then unless there's other thoughts, I guess.
No, I just wanted to sure Redbird was done. Are you done?
Yeah, what are you thinking on the edge?
Wow, you know, for me, I agree about the circle and the council, but I also love unstructured downtime. I just love hanging out. And, that's where people fall in love. It's during those times. They don't usually fall in love during meetings. But right now, what's floating my boat is water. Hi, Christine. Where I live up on Whidbey Island, I moved from the land of fire to the land of water. And there's a real awakening in the community up there right now around water. Because we actually are doing well with our water, and our waters do come from wells, which are expensive. But we're looking at, how do we know when we start reaching our capacity? What are we going to do when people start migrating up there because of climate refugees? And I wasn't a refugee of climate, I was a refugee of like Google and Facebook and Twitter and the economy down here. So there's like this awakening right now. And then I just heard a guy, you can look him up, Joe Brewer. Does anybody know Joe Brewer? You guys don't know who Joe Brewer is. Well, look him up, Google him. He's out there on the internet right now, but he's been going around visiting communities, and he's starting, he called it the Regenerative Bioregional Tour, and he's going and talking to communities about regenerating our whole bioregion, and start looking at that at scale. Watershed by watershed by watershed, connecting watersheds. Where does the restoration need to occur? Let's go there. Working with municipalities, working with states, working with all the stakeholders, and really focusing on water. That's like the thing, because water is life, as we all know. So that's what I'm excited about, because right now there's an awakening that's happening, and where I live anyway, around water. So I'm going to start it. I want to slow it, spread it, store it, share it, serve it. I'm excited about maybe organizing rain gardens to go in, infiltration at scale in our watershed on our island, but then also looking at the whole Cascadia bioregion, because she needs us right now. And if we're going to feed her something right now, just water is probably the best nutrient I know of to support life. So that's where I'm going.
Well, and when we were talking about this, we definitely wanted, I think, where you were headed, Redbird, just acknowledging in advance, we had a sense, although I'm a little bit more, my sense is even bigger about the caliber of you all characters in the audiences as who showed up. And so let's open it up and, hear from you all as far as a question or a thought or a reflection back here in a way, that's focused and tight and, in the context of limited bit of time and a bunch of folks, and so we'll try to optimize that in that realm. So hand over there and speak loud since we're not going to be roving the
Okay,
mic.
yeah, my name's Alice. I do the skincare that you saw out there. I'm an ethnobotanist, anthropologist by trade. I've been studying cultures from all over the world and traveled all over, and I'm French, so I come from the European background. And we had an agronomist come here about 5 years ago. She did a study on all of the possibilities of distilling essential oils and making medicine for the people, which for me, as a European person, when I came here, the first thing that shocked me with America was the medical system. I was like, what is going on? Like, even in third world countries, there's better medical system than here. And I feel people are so trapped in a certain way by a lack of choices in terms of medical system. And I love the medical system. They're very good at certain things they do, like surgery and interventions when we need them, right? And that's amazing. We've reached such a level. But I feel for us to regain safety in our hearts and also as a community, we need to create medicine for each other. And medicine is a way to create alternative agriculture. Because you can grow wine and you can grow also medicine. You can grow food and you can also grow medicine. They all work together. We saw them in the gardens today. So I just want to reach out and say, how can we grow medicine together? How can we create cooperatives where we are working as a community and where economy is not just an individual thing, where we're all working so hard. I'm a single mom, I live here, I'm working so hard. I have all this knowledge, and all I want to do is share it. All I want to do is grow it. And all I want to do is find centers where people like here can come and bring their rosehip seeds that we can share with the birds and take some and make vitamin C for our children. And like all of the remedies are there, all of the abundance is there, and I feel the network of healthcare is something that's going to allow us to relax. And we have to create that independently from the government. Because unfortunately the government is not going to implement, they are implementing it, and there's a lot of young people in the medical system that are starting to bring aromatherapy and natural medicine. So there is like something brewing, but there's really a need for that. And I think California is the most incredible place for growing medicinal herbs. So I just want to share this vision, this dream that I have, that we can have real true medicine made on a bigger scale for everybody, that's cost $20, that everybody can buy. And that's when we create community too, is when those disparities in between a price of a medication and a condition, how does this bring back together? And we know the food is a solution, and the medicine we grow is a solution too. So if you have any ideas, any networking, anything you want to do, we'd love to create a distillery here. In Italy, they have olive oil presses where people come with their trucks and they drop the olives, and they do that here with wine, right? We can do that with medicine. And medicine brings out biodiversity, animal wildlife, bees, butterflies, all the things. And they're compatible with certain monocultures. So really that's the vision I want to share, and I really hope, and I feel that you people are the people that I should share this with. So thank you for this.
Yeah, that's
I'm
great. Because Bert and I were just talking before this about almost exactly that, around people doing what they love to do, and then passing that, what they do, on to somebody who takes it to the next phase, who finding the right people who like to take it to the next phase. Like, I do distillation. I had gallons and gallons of lavender hydrosol and calendula oil and all these things, and guess what? I found a woman who makes cosmetics, home scale out of her home. She's just buying all my stuff. And she says, can you distill lemon balm next spring? And all this stuff. So now I found a niche that supports what I love to do, and she'll just take it all, so I can keep making more.
That's beautiful.
Like a honeybee. And Redbird was talking about, people who love to grow seedlings, and then they pass it on to the person who likes to pop them up and then grow them, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because I'm not a farmer. I grow herbs, but when I see the level of certain people, what you can do, like here, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I was looking at those rose hips going, these are the most beautiful rose hips I've ever seen in my entire life, right? So I don't have the capacity to do that, but others can. And that's why I think for us to be able to change the landscape, we have to bring it to a level that's bigger than the individual.
But I love, know, I get what you're saying too about Europe, because I thought that too. In fact, when I toured around France, I thought, I want to have regional cheeses, I want to have regional breads, I want to have regional wines. That was 30 years ago. And guess what we have here now?
You do.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't then. It wasn't then. But it is now. So just so you know, we've come a long way. Yeah.
You are the genesis, Alice.
Well, I don't know. I feel medicine is the next, like it's a really important part of the cracking the code and of getting rid of that. The agronomist said the problem that you have here, my dear, she's French. She said people don't know how to work in community, and I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, they don't understand what cooperative is because the survival is so important in this country. To pay your bills and to not be banned by society because you haven't paid your bills is such a pressure on people that to be able to relax and say we can do this together can be difficult.
Thank you so much for that. Annie?
Yeah.
I am Annie, for the Roots crew here from the Bay Area. I want to go back a little bit from the beginning of the day, Erik, when you were talking about us, a couple of things from your slides, and there was reciprocity. In the classes that we do, we're working on breaking down the word permaculture, and where that came from, right? And we have all these different definitions of what permaculture is in all these different books. I mean, I think Bill Ohlsen has at least 10, you know, and I think everybody else has all their perspectives of it and their experience and all these fancy words and this whole vocabulary. And what we've been working on at Roots is like, how can we break down that word where it's understandable for everyone? And it's really simple, you know. And so we broke down that word permaculture, right? That comes from permanent culture or permanent agriculture. And it was really cool how this class in 2023, we broke down the word like permanent agri, which means land, right? Permanent is sustained forever. And then you got agri, which means land, right? And then culture is the way of life. And we went around the class for like, I think it was about an hour or so, and everybody was throwing all these insights. And we came up with a really cool, I was just really like, my heart opened, I just started crying, like I thought it was just like amazing way that when we put ourselves together in a community and start breaking things down and start creating our own definitions from our own experiences, you know. And this is a BIPOC PDC, and we're all from different places and come from different ways, and our ancestors, I mean, they come from different places all around the world. And to sit in this classroom with everyone bringing their thoughts and their meanings together, we came up with this definition, and I would love for you to read it, Erik.
You want me to read it?
Can you read it?
You want to read it?
I want you to read it.
All right.
It's like big.
This is from the Roots Permaculture course, yeah?
2023, yeah.
Roots Permaculture course 2023. Here's the collective wisdom. Permaculture, a practice of honoring ecological systems in order to be in sacred reciprocity with all that is.
Is it a new hairdo? Gardening in Alaska, those are the two things. Oh, like what the hell? Look at that printing.
Could you read
Looks
it again?
beautiful.
Yeah, read it again.
Read it again? Yeah.
Again.
Again, from Roots Permaculture course 2023, the collective wisdom. Permaculture, a practice of honoring ecological systems in order to be in sacred reciprocity with all that is. That hits all the ancestral chords.
Well, you feel like kind of percolating down into everybody.
And it goes back to what you were talking about,
Yeah,
you know.
very much.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing to the collective wisdom of this circle that you brought together. So, and after this, when we break the panel, I mean, go check out Roots and the work they're doing to support them. Because this is the edge. This is one of the edges where the healing and transformation takes place. Thanks, Annie. Anything else from any of y'all? Yep.
I think we alluded to the issue of economics. And I think that there are a lot of people here, there's like different generations. There are the folks that were at the beginning of the cutting edge, like Penny and Starhawk and Kat, and all these people that have been teachers. I think it's really important that we are mentoring the next generation, the really young people, to empower them, because so many people right now are in despair and having help, not having to work 3 jobs so that you can afford the rent, and then the kids are not with their families. There's that whole issue of economics. I know the Lift economy is doing a lot of work where folks are getting alternative business degrees to try to infiltrate and make business, and the people who have all the power have the power to make the changes, that we can be educating them, not making them the enemy, and really working to be mentoring. I think it's so important right now, that's a big issue for me, to really get young people to feel excited about the future.
That's happening.
And giving them the tools. I know
Not enough probably, but.
Yeah, I know. I took a whole group of kids yesterday to Santa Cruz permaculture farm. And, getting them to see what is happening and feel engaged and excited about it instead of in despair, and maybe wanting to find their paths, all these different ways to go. There's so many possibilities, and to be healthy and not in despair, and, take the right herbs so that they're not on Prozac or whatever it is. So that's what that whole big gestalt is. So,
This is where technology is kind of interesting, because we're teaching these online permaculture courses now. Like the last course I do one with Ecoversity, and OAEC does one. And, the last course we had was from 47 different countries. We capped one course out on 200 people. And it's mostly young people, but it's from all different backgrounds. And what's coming out of there, who knew online, you can teach permaculture online? Like, what? We did not think it was possible, but you know what? The design projects that are coming out of there are second to none. They're amazing. And there's people from like Zimbabwe and Australia and Sweden and, Amsterdam, all in this, or some, India. There's somebody from Tibet. They're all in the same design group, working on a digital online design. And they're being implemented. Some people are just traveling down to Brazil to start implementing the project that they worked on. So, I wish it could be more in like mainstream media, like where people could know what's going on. And there needs to be more of that, of course. But
it's so great that they are connecting.
They're connecting really deeply. It's shocking.
Of that whole worldwide movement, ecosystem restoration, all those people coming together.
Yeah, the ecosystem, the restoration camps. John Lew's. There's over 50 of them all over the place now.
I just wanted to add, you touched on something, which is that we really can't track the scale of regeneration or these projects or the kind of work that's happening with the youth, the amount of ecological agroforestry farms that are popping up all around the world. Like, it's almost impossible to track. And if you actually look, Synergetic Press published Vandana Shiva's last book, Regenerative Agriculture and Agroecology. And I think they have a copy out there. It's worth checking out. And in that book, she worked with Via Campesina and with thousands of small farm workers around the world, mostly throughout Asia and Latin America. And when they combine the sheer numbers of acreage that they are transforming using agroecological principles, transforming whole villages and whole communities into ecological oases with good living wages and high nourishment and happiness. Like, that's not in the news. That's not part of the discussion when we say how horrible climate change is and how all these terrible things that are happening in the world, which are happening. We can't track that stuff. And that I think is it's the negative entropy of what's happening in the world. We can't really understand how the scale of the goodness. And so usually what people do is they grasp onto the despair, because that's an emotion that somehow is more accessible to us, or is we feel like we're feeling the pain and the grief of the world more when we tap into the despair that we feel. And that makes us good people, because we feel the despair, right? I mean, I'm like trying to break down the shit here for a second, right? Like that is the psychological, emotional, mental processes that a lot of folks who are trying to do good work tap into, how horrible things are. But then then you go out in your garden and you're like, oh my God, the world is so abundant and incredible and like so beautiful. Am I allowed to feel this way?
Yeah.
When people are suffering all over the world, am I allowed to feel that way? Am I allowed to look at the millions of acres that are being restored by campesinos around the world and feel, yes, yes, we did it, we're doing it, right? That is an emotion we need to bring back. And Redbird, I wanted to say something to you. I know we're trying to get you all to talk, but sorry, got the mic. One thing that I learned working at your farm, Redbird, with your community, is something that I wish we could honor I wish the collective of us could honor in a way. And that is, there's a sense when I work with Redbird and his community that getting the job's going to get done, the work's going to get done, but the focus isn't on hard work. The focus is on the kind of relationships that emerge throughout the day with each other, with the seeds, with the soil, with the water. That's what's important. Not how fast can we get the pipe in the ground. And it was interesting when I was working with you, right? Because I'm coming from running a business and working with folks who it's like, we gotta get this shit done, gotta move really fast, and here I am coming in with that bull energy a little bit. And you're like, no, you don't need to fill that part in. Actually, we decided not to fill that part in. And you told me that one day. And I was like, let me hit it really fast. And I think this is is connected to the celebration of the goodness that we should allow ourselves to feel. Is also we should be able to do the work without feeling like we have to break our bodies. And like, it's never enough, and we're never enough, and we're never working hard enough, and this is only productivity culture, it's the only way you can feel good. What about just breathing into a relationship? What about just spending time honoring beauty, each other, and being in child wonder in the midst of hardcore labor? Like, that's a thing. Sit down and look at the fossils. What do we find? We found some ancient oyster shells or clam shells in one of those trenches. So anyways, I don't know if you want to speak to that kind of work culture, but...
We still haven't finished that irrigation project.
It's only been 2 years. Exactly.
Water by hand. We have to change. It's not something that everybody has naturally. We have to change it. We have to change them, and we have to change ourselves. Like, we have to, every now and then, we just have to stop whatever we're doing and sit down. Okay, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing it this way? Is this called nice behavior, or is this really the way it should be done? So we end up doing that quite a bit. So that's really good. It's really good for us, and healing in a lot of ways. One thing I wanted to mention was that talking about the good things that are happening and around, we feel like things are hopeless and the world's hopeless and stuff, and we're not making progress, but we are making progress. There's good things happening. I wanted to tell you one particular thing that you might not even know about in your own neighborhood. We're a women-led organization. You know, we can't say that in our bylaws. We're nonprofit and all that. We can't really say that women are going to lead this exclusively, but just by happenstance, that seems to be the case, and will always be the case with us. And it changes things. You know, it's a definite there's a definite change in how we work and because of that and the things that we do. But one thing that we've done is we do food distribution to Native communities in Sonoma, Maria, and East Bay. And what has happened is people have learned that we do that. People in this area, people in Sonoma County have learned, different farms have learned that that's what we do. And people want to get in on that, you know, 'cause they see that, okay, there's a structure in place. People always have surplus. So they find out about us, and so they know that we're a distribution center. So we started getting people joining in on that, and it became an organization that's called Grow, and it's a group of farms here in Sonoma County that distribute to us. And one of the special things about that is that it's all farms that are women-led or women-run. We have 50 different farms. Did you even know we have 15 farms that are women-led or women-run in Sonoma County? We didn't know that. They appear down in Redbird, you know, there they are. And I just always have to feel that it happened because they're women. You know, you can't put your finger on one particular reason why it happened, or the underlying common theme is that it's women-led, women-run, and are contributing to this work. So that's one positive thing that's happening, you know, here, and it can happen everywhere. You know, it's something that could be taken everywhere. And we're really proud of, you know, who we serve and who we get to be, and you know, it's really good. I just want to say one more thing. We distribute boxes. It's not like I always tell people that it's not a CSA, although it's similar to a CSA. For us, it's an ASC, so we're doing it backwards. It's agriculture supported community. Which organization? It's the Cultural Conservancy that runs the Land Project.
I think you said grow a row.
Oh, grow a row.
I was just gonna, Redbird's reminding me, I had the blessing of being over on this property that we have a new name for, so I'm doing my best to not say the old one. And it was a land back conference they just had, and it was interesting. There's a woman named Cassandra Ferreira who also did PhD here and working with this amazing organization for the Center for Ethical Land Transfer and really supporting communities. She's a real estate agent in land back efforts and that kind of work. And she was talking about working with some indigenous folks in a process. And at one point she was reflecting a story that one of the folks she was working with said to her, because she was feeling in a hurry. And the guy was basically like, oh, ran out of battery. And the guy was like, you know, you're always working at the speed of whiteness. And there's this whole sense of the colonialism, temporality, the colonialism of time, and just the speed of whiteness. And I was like, okay, like, well, you better take that. Slow spread and sink it, but think it. You're like, slow down. And Melissa Nelson, who has been I've been the executive director of the Cultural Conservancy for 30 plus years. She currently stepped away. There's wonderful female feminine leadership now at this point. But Melissa was reflecting a paper she read where you know, about trauma, and there's a lot of talk about trauma where it's like there's the fight, flight, or freeze reaction. And she was reflecting a study that basically the creation or the sense that fight, flight, and freeze are the universal human response to us being confronted with trauma is based on the fact that everybody who did the studies and all the people studied were all men. And so these women, academics, worked up a different study and found that, yeah, there's fight, flight, and freeze, but when women were predominantly confronted with a trauma, that befriend was there first. So instead of the fight, flight, or freeze, it was really tend and befriend. Come together, reconnoiter, connect with your community, and it's just a really interesting thing we're bringing up about obviously the level of impact and assumption around patriarchy and the implication of that and the assumptions our cultures are operating on when female leadership takes over. There's whole other opportunities to be in relationship and befriend, and it feels like regenerative work is really tending and befriending the greater wholeness. And so I was just thinking about that as our trauma response in this moment, as we move forward in a positive, reverential way of reconnecting as befriending with ourselves and the whole. And I think I'm getting the hook over there, right? Are we at time?
We could be.
Close, a couple more questions? All right, one there and one there.
I just want to draw the connection to what I heard Redbird say earlier about the power of sitting in circle. And a sort of common theme that I keep hearing up is this emotional connection and trauma response and being in relation. And it just feels like such a fundamental piece as the foundational block for all of this regenerative work, to be in relation with our community and doing the work to sort of come into relationship with ourselves. So it's sort of starting from that place. And I just want to draw it back. And there's something I heard, growing medicine. And the first thing I thought of was also just growing the emotional medicine connection. And then sitting in circle is the way that I've done to do that. So I just wanted to bring it back to that person.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, for me, actually, permaculture is a sneaky way of getting people to change our way of thinking. And to think less about separate, isolated objects and think more relationally. And that is where it comes back to indigenous kinds of thinking, but also very advanced science kinds of thinking, that things work in systems. They don't just work in separate, simple cause and effect. And what I've been thinking about a lot the last couple of weeks, I was at the Northwest Permaculture Convergence on October 7th, and it was beautiful. I was so happy to be there and meeting incredible people, and we were having incredible conversations, and just so good to be gathering again after COVID. And there was no internet and not much phone service. And then coming out and seeing the news about Israel and Gaza and the massacre and the way it spirals into worse and worse and worse violence, I can't help thinking that we need a regenerative politics.
Yeah.
Because the response to Hamas, and it was horrible what Hamas did, but it's like the response of chemical agriculture to a pest. Let's nuke it, let's destroy it. Let's spray poison all over it, and if we poison all the beneficials, well, that's just what we have to do. And if we poison our own food, well, we just won't talk about that. And what if instead we could say, well, if this is happening, we have to look at what are the conditions that are favoring this behavior, and how do we create different conditions and take responsibility for that. And I've been in Israel, I'm Jewish, I was raised to love Israel. I've also been very involved in Palestinian solidarity. I was in Gaza with the group supporting nonviolent resistance there when 2 of our volunteers were killed. This was 20 years ago. So I feel like I've seen it somewhat from both sides, and the escalation of the violence is not going to solve anything. So how do we, I love the idea of regenerative economics, and how do we push that into regenerative politics? And maybe, Erik, maybe you should be Speaker of the House.
I don't even want to be Speaker of my house.
You wouldn't fit the dress code. I don't know, I
think all the batteries
yeah.
have run out, huh?
I don't know, but listen to Marianne Williamson, you know, I don't know what the likelihood of her winning or anything, but listen to what she has to say. It's amazing. She's talking exactly that. Marianne Williamson, she's, yeah, I don't know, you know. Just listen to her. I mean, I think she's saying a lot of spot on stuff.
Is she running again?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she's got completely ousted.
Yeah.
But anyway, just listen to her. Like when you hear her, it's like, boom. Huh?
Speaking at Flag Memorial in San Francisco tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up the panel, and what's going to happen next is I'm going to stay up here and sign books. You got a book you want signed, you come up here and I sign it. We're going to get the fire going out there. We're going to get the connecting going. We can build on everything that we've been talking about, and we can grieve together and heal together and celebrate together. And so don't leave, because now it's about all of us. But can we try something before we do that?
Yeah. Make a circle.
Let's make a circle in this room. Go to the edges. We're gonna include this. We'll have to include this on it. And hey, you don't have to hold hands because, like, you know, some people are wearing masks and stuff. Or if you want to hold hands, you could do like this kind of thing. I'm up for this. Like I'll link. I'll link. Practicing blockade. So just feel it for a second. You feel your feet on the ground, and feel the generations, the hundreds of generations of love that have been put into these grounds, to these soils. And feel and acknowledge the hundreds of collective years of love of the land that are in this room, and the projects completed, and the sacrifices made to do good. And just look around at this beautiful community. I know not everybody knows everyone, but when you get to know each other, if you don't know, damn.
Let's pray for Erik's book that it reaches far and wide.
Yeah.
Spreads love and peace to the world.
You know, I actually read every word of that book. It is so thorough. It's an incredible book.
She's the only one.
Details.
Its time has come.
Yeah.
We just got back from a regenerative farm in Texas, and it's trendy.
Yeah.
super trendy. Like everything is regenerative. That's the word now. When I look at it, I'm going, it's permaculture. But okay, you want to call it regenerative? All right, that's fine. But it's right on. It's trending. Yeah, it's time.
Yep. Yeah, the one who coined regenerative design is right here. Penny Livingston. Y'all know that? With James.
Yeah, we're going resilience, restorative, no, regenerative. Yeah,
That took off.
it did.
Be a regenerate, not a degenerate.
And now it's time to party!
And if folks, there's room out the fire, they'll get going, but you can just feel free to rearrange chairs into little circles if you want to have, room with space.